This week we're talking all about kettlebells, dumbbells, and barbells and which type of equipment is the best for you to get the best training results. Hello and welcome back to the show. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Bri Ogletree. I am an online fitness trainer teaching you how to fit fitness into your unique lifestyle so that you can achieve and maintain your body goals long term. Before we get started, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you're on YouTube to get more free fitness education just like this. If you're listening on the podcast, be sure to also subscribe where you're listening to this audio. If you're listening on Spotify, starting this week, I will be uploading the video version to Spotify. The platform does support video, so that's another great way that you can tune into the show. You can also ask me questions there. You can leave comments. All right, so let's get into it. So dumbbells, barbells, and kettlebells. Which ones are the best for training results? If you've been following me for a while, you know that it's not going to be a black and white answer. There is a lot of gray area when it comes to fitness. And a lot of times the answer is it depends when it comes to your individual fitness journey. Kettlebells, dumbbells, and barbells are what are known as exercise modalities. And basically all that means is the different ways that you can perform your exercises, different ways that you can lift, different ways that you can train. Now, they're all different styles of free weights. They are all in the category of free weights. But whether or not you get the best results from them is really dependent on you and your unique fitness journey. In my personal opinion, they're all great, but we're going to go over some of the pros and cons of each to help you decide what the best free weight option is for you. Really, at the end of the day, it's going to come down to preference. It's going to come down to your comfortability with these different types of equipment. And it's going to come down to progressive overload. So that is really the most important principle you want to keep in mind, regardless of the type of exercise modality that you're using. Progressive overload is what is going to keep you making progress over the long term. We want to continue getting stronger, continue getting better, continue moving better with whatever exercises that we're doing so our body can continue to adapt to our training. This is just going to help you get closer and closer to your fitness goals. As long as you're keeping progressive overload in mind, it really isn't going to matter which exercise modality that you're choosing. It's just going to come down to preference. Now, me personally, I love to use all three forms of these free weights. I love lifting, so it really doesn't matter which one I pick up. If I had to choose one, I really do love barbell training, but I use all of them in my training. I may take some time off from some of the pieces of equipment. Like for example, in the last month or so, I haven't really used a lot of kettlebells. Been using more barbells and dumbbells, probably more dumbbells in the last month. I do incorporate all three in my training. But as long as you're keeping your training principles in mind, it really does come down to preference, what you're comfortable with, what you have access to, and we're going to get into all of that. Okay, so first up is going to be dumbbells. So if you don't know already, dumbbells are the hand weights. They usually have a handle that you can grab. They have either a plate or two on one end, depending on the size of the dumbbell. But they can be circular, they can be hex sized. They can be plate loaded, so you can actually load hand weights. The smaller handled weights that you would just grab with one hand. The pros of dumbbells are that most commercial gyms, most gyms in the United States and internationally in the world, if you're listening somewhere else, have dumbbells. So they're readily available if you have a gym membership. Usually gyms have a wide variety, a wide selection of dumbbells because they know that a lot of people use them for a variety of exercises. So they are readily available at most gyms. They're readily available at virtually all gyms. I haven't stepped into a gym yet that doesn't have dumbbells. So accessibility for dumbbells is really high if you have a gym membership, and there's going to be a lot available. A lot of gyms have multiple sets of the same weights because they know a lot of people use them again. So the likelihood of you getting the weight selection that you want to do your exercises is going to be really high. Another pro to dumbbells is they're pretty beginner friendly. So if you've never lifted before or never did a training program before, starting with dumbbells is a really great place to start. There's not a whole lot of front end technique knowledge that you need to know with dumbbells in order to be successful with dumbbells or in order to start training with dumbbells. Just the basic safety tips for lifting. So basic safety tips for dumbbells would be, using your legs, deadlifting them off the floor if they are on the floor, doing a proper setup, carrying them with intention from the weight rack to wherever you're doing your exercises. But other than that, as long as you know the proper setups for your exercises, there's really not a huge barrier to entry when it comes to lifting with dumbbells. If you're training at home, another pro is that they do now make stackable dumbbells. For stackable dumbbells, there is a range of dumbbells within the same handle or set. So you get you get a pair, and you can adjust it from 5 pounds all the way up to 25 or 50 pounds, depending on the brand and the type of adjustable dumbbell that you got. So I really love these for a home training option because it saves space, and you really get a big bang for your buck because you basically have a huge range of dumbbell weights that you can use and you can progress with as you do your training. You can also get a few set of dumbbells for home as well to start, and then progressively add sets as you go if you want to have like a collection of dumbbells at home. I prefer the stackable option for home training, but if you do prefer to have a range of individual sets of dumbbells, you can do that as well as home, as long as you have the space to dedicate to it and the funds to dedicate to it as well. I like dumbbell training because you can follow progressive overload fairly easily, as long as you have a gym membership or as long as you're willing to invest in more pairs of dumbbells or you have the stackable option like I just spoke about. So in terms of strength training, dumbbells are great for a variety of exercises as well. You can do a ton of different things: upper body, lower body, total body, core. You can do a lot of different exercises with dumbbells. So you're really not limited to what you can do with dumbbells. As long as you have a variety of weights that you can use, you're pretty much set when it comes to dumbbell training. Now let's get into some of the cons of dumbbell training. So I really only have like a couple. The first one is that when you start getting heavier in your dumbbell exercises, when you start going heavier, setting up for some exercises may be a little bit more difficult with dumbbells versus using something like a barbell. Setting up for a heavy dumbbell goblet squat, for example, may pose a challenge if you're lifting like 100 to 150 pound dumbbell. There are ways to do it. I use the bench method, so I'll put the dumbbell on the bench and then squat it from there. So I'll get down into that squat in order to lift up that heavy dumbbell. But things like that you have to think about when you're using only dumbbells when it comes to your strength training. As it gets heavier, it's going to be a little bit more challenging to get into positions. So another example of that is going to be a bench press, right? And this is where a spotter comes into. A spotter can definitely help you. But if you're lifting heavier dumbbells, it may be difficult for you to get in that initial bench press position. So taking those dumbbells from the rack or from the floor and rocking back into that supine position. So you're on your back when you bench, right? And getting those dumbbells in the right position to be able to do that. It becomes a little bit more challenging with dumbbells once they get a little bit heavier. And it's going to depend from person to person, obviously. But as you get stronger and you're using heavier dumbbells, getting into those positions may be a little bit more challenging. So that's really one of the only cons that I see with dumbbell training. You, of course, can use spotters. They can help you lift the dumbbells. They can help place the dumbbells. If you were using that for a bench, if you're using a spotter for a bench, you might actually need two spotters, one on each side, handing you those dumbbells. So if you train in groups, you're probably good to go. But if you train alone, you may struggle a little bit, especially as you're getting heavier with the weight. And then the other con that I had really was that some movements can feel a little wonky or a little like bulky or a little awkward as the dumbbells get heavier. And an example of this is going to be something like doing a dumbbell clean or a double dumbbell clean or a dumbbell snatch, something like that. Just the way that you're able to maneuver the weight and hold the weight, say in the rack position, is going to be a little bit more challenging as these dumbbells get bulkier, because as they get heavier, they're going to get bigger and bigger, right? So it's going to be a little bit more challenging to maneuver the dumbbells around. So that's just a little con as well, but it's not something that should hold you back from training at all. Just be something to be aware of when you're training with dumbbells. Other than that, those are really the only cons that I have when it comes to dumbbell training. I think dumbbells are a great way to strength train, a great way to lift weights, and you should definitely incorporate them in your training. The next category or exercise modality is going to be kettlebells. So if you've never seen a kettlebell before, it is basically, it looks like a bell. So it has a U-shaped sort of handle, and then it has either like a ball, or some of them could be square. A ball shape, it's like a ball shape. So it's a ball shape with like a U-shape handle on it, and the shape is going to vary a little bit from brand to brand, but that's generally what it looks like. It's another form of free weight that you can use to strength train. A pro to kettlebell training is that they're great for explosive movements. They're great for strength training too, but things like swings, cleans, snatches, these more explosive type exercises where you're training power and you're developing power, kettlebells are really good for that style of training. For a well-rounded program, you want to be including some type of power development training, and in addition to your traditional strength training. Power development is going to help you be more agile. It's going to be help you move better, help you recruit your muscle tissue a little bit faster. So it's just going to help you become a better mover. Generally, you want to do your power training in the beginning of your training to help you kind of warm up for your strength training. It really helps you recruit muscle tissue and turn on those muscles that you're going to be using in your heavier strength training. But it also is going to make you, again, a more agile mover, more athletic mover, and it's also fun. I love doing snatches and cleans because they always help make me feel like an athlete. So kettlebells are really great for power development and power training, things like swings, snatches, cleans. So I really love to use kettlebells for that. Another pro with kettlebell training is just to keep your training interesting and fun and engaging, right? I find with kettlebells, I kind of have to pay a little bit more attention than I do when it comes to dumbbells. Not that I'm not paying attention, but I feel like you have to be more intentional with how you're handling the kettlebell because of the way that it's shaped. So the way that you're racking the kettlebell, the way that you are lifting it up off the floor, the way that you are holding it up overhead if you're doing a snatch or a press or something, for example. You just have to be a little bit more mindful with kettlebells with how you're handling them. So they definitely make training a little bit more interesting and a little bit more engaging. A con to kettlebells training is that they're not as common in the United States anyway as dumbbells, right? So if you go into any commercial gym, you're gonna see dumbbells. Some commercial gyms, even in 2022, don't have kettlebells. But what I've noticed is more and more commercial gyms are getting them. They realize that they are a popular way of, or that they are becoming a more popular way of training. So they are investing in these pieces of equipment, but they're still less common than seeing dumbbells in a gym setup. So the availability of kettlebells in your own gym, for example, may or may not be there. So it really just depends on the gym. If you're training at home, you can of course order your own set. They also do make stackable kettlebells as well, which is really cool. So you get a couple different weights within one kettlebell, which is awesome. So you can order it for home training. And again, they're great, they're fun, and they're definitely engaging, and they keep training interesting. Another con with kettlebell training is that there's a steeper learning curve when it comes to using kettlebells for training, especially when it comes to things like power development. So learning the kettlebell swing, learning the kettlebell clean, the kettlebell snatch, learning how to handle and rack them. There's a steeper learning curve when compared to dumbbells. Now, that's not to say that you can't learn how to use them. Of course, you can learn how to use them, but just be prepared that it's going to be a lot different than using dumbbells, and you might need to take a little bit of extra time learning how to handle this piece of equipment. And that's really just it. So it's the con, but it's not really a con because we're just learning at the end of the day. Learning how to lift weights in itself is a skill. So you can definitely learn how to handle kettlebells. I also, again, use kettlebells in my training. There isn't a piece of equipment that I don't use. So I I may take breaks from it, but I do incorporate kettlebell training. I do love kettlebell swings and snatches and cleans and things like that. So I think they're a lot of fun. So kettlebell training may be something that if you're not doing already, you want to look into to kind of spice up your training routine, or learn something different. So last on the list is going to be barbells. So barbells are going to be those long bars in the gym that you load plates on. There's also different types of bars. So a standard barbell is going to be one of those longer bars that you see, the straight bars. And then there's also things like trap bars. So trap bars are you kind of step into it and do like a deadlift. You can do other things with it too, like bent over row, other exercises, lunges. You can get really creative, but that's another type of barbell training. And then there's the easy bars too. So either the straight or the short zigzag looking bars that you also plate load. So those all would be categorized as barbell training. A huge pro with barbell training is going to be your loading potential. So how much weight you can put on the bar. Back to the con I was talking about with dumbbells and it being a little bit more difficult to set up with heavier dumbbells, especially for something like a squat or a deadlift. Once you get to a certain point when it comes to dumbbells, I would definitely recommend moving over to the barbell because it just makes it easier to load plates, easier to set up for your lifts because they're going to have stands. So they're going to have a squat stand, they're going to have a bench station, they're going to have even like a deadlift platform, and some gyms even have I don't even know what it's called, but a piece of equipment to help you load the bar when it's on the floor. So it just makes loading for your sets a little bit easier if you are using the barbell. So if you are into getting as strong as you can, you're into pure strength, you're just interested in solely getting stronger, barbell training is definitely where you're going to want to be. A standard barbell is going to allow you to load 6, maybe 7 45-pound plates on each side, depending on the thickness of it. So you can load really heavy when it comes to barbell training. So again, if you're looking to solely just get as strong as you can, you're definitely going to want to incorporate barbell training. If your objective isn't exactly to get as strong as possible, you can still, of course, incorporate barbell training into your workouts. Again, they're going to allow you to load heavier. They're not as awkward when it comes to setting up because you have stands available and racks available to help you load. So they're going to help improve your training efficiency. You're going to save time, setting up because you have those racks available to you. And they may help you load a little bit heavier than you would if you were using dumbbells, for example. A limiting factor with dumbbells is going to be, again, your setup, but it's also going to be your grip strength as well. Because remember, you're holding dumbbells in your hand. With a barbell, you can load plates on and rack that barbell on your back for a back squat, for example. Bench press, you could set it up on the bench and it's just sitting there until you're ready to do your set. So you're going to be able to lift heavier when it comes to barbell training. Another pro to barbell training is, again, they were virtually at every commercial gym. So any standard commercial gym that you walk into is going to have some type of barbell setup. So they may have deadlift stations on the floor. They may have a power rack that allows you to do squats and bench press. They may have separate bench press stations, but every commercial gym in the United States, at least, is going to have barbells available, and they generally, if it's a larger gym, they're going to have multiple stations available to you. And the last pro for barbell training is that you're just going to feel like a badass. I love barbell training. I love loading plates on and lifting as much as I can, depending on what I'm doing for my training. But I always feel like a badass when I do barbell training. So if you want to feel like a badass, barbell training is where you want to go. There are a few cons with barbell training as well, though. So the first con is going to be that if you are training at home, having a barbell set up at home is going to be a little bit trickier than, just going to the gym. If you have the space to dedicate to a full barbell power rack setup, that is my goal in life, to have a home gym, a garage gym, basement gym with a full power rack setup. But for some of us, training at home with the barbell is a little bit less ideal. So that can be a con. And if you don't have a membership, then obviously you're not going to have access to a barbell. In which case, you may want to stick to dumbbell and kettlebell training, which you can get plenty strong with both of those two options. And they're a little bit more accessible if you are training at home. Another con to barbell training is that there is a learning curve to barbell training as well, just like there is with kettlebell training. A barbell is going to be a little bit more rigid than, using dumbbells or even using a kettlebell. You're going to have to learn how to properly set up with the barbell in specific lifts. So there's specific setups and I guess rules of thumb when it comes to setting up for something like a back squat or a deadlift or a bench press. So there is a slight learning curve, but again, it's a skill at the end of the day, so you can, of course, learn it. But just be aware on the front end that if you do want to do some barbell training, that learning those fundamentals first are going to be vital to your success when it comes to lifting with a barbell, just like it is with a kettlebell and even dumbbells as well. So keep that in mind. That is going to be it for this episode. Getting the best results when it comes to training with any of these types of equipment is really going to come down to you. It's going to come down to your preference. It's going to come down to how comfortable you feel with these different pieces of equipment, what your skill level is, and what you have available to you. You want to build a training plan at the end of the day that's going to work for you and your lifestyle. And that includes what you have access to and what you enjoy doing when it comes to your training. So hopefully this episode helped you decide which training and exercise modality is best for you. Is it one of them? Is it two of them? Is it all three? I definitely use all three throughout the year within my training. Again, I may take breaks with one piece of equipment and just focus on one or two of the other, but I do definitely incorporate all of them into my training, and you can too. Again, be sure to like this video if you found it helpful, and comment below your favorite of the three types of exercise modalities or free weights that we went over today. I'm definitely interested in hearing what your favorite one is. Mine is definitely barbell training. I love barbell training, although I haven't done much of it in the last month or so, but it's definitely still my favorite. I do like to lift heavy, and there's something about loading up the barbell that just makes you feel like a badass. So I love that. I do have two free resources available. The first one is Train Like a Pro. That is going to help you build a training routine that's going to work for your unique lifestyle. So we go over things like how many days per week can you train? How much time per session can you commit to your training? It's also going to walk you through how to build your own program too. I'm going to help you select lower body exercises, upper body exercises, core exercises, and put that together into a cohesive program that you can follow in order to get the body goals that you're looking for. So definitely check out that resource. The other one is a resource guide on equipment. So if you're looking to invest in home equipment, definitely check out this PDF. There are some options for dumbbells and kettlebells on there that I went over today. It's a clickable PDF, so if you are interested in investing in equipment, definitely check that out. All right, that is going to be it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.